right. At the end of the day, welcome everybody. I'm Valerie Cobb, here with Mel Asher, the great from Omnipool. We're on another great episode of Mindsetaholics. Go ahead.
Yep. Welcome to Mindsetaholics. We are going to talk about social justice initiatives and how they affect growing your brand.
This is near and dear to my heart because I hear this all the time.
Let's give a pre-qualifier here. Both of us are very supportive of social justice issues. We are not shaming them. We are not saying there's anything wrong with them. What we're talking about is the misuse and the misunderstanding of the implementation of them in growing your business.
Yeah.
You know, you had a recent incident that I'll let you share, but I know on my end, I meet with companies all the time and they lead with, oh, we do this and now we're going to do that and now we're going to do this. To which my response is always, great. How do you make money? Oh, but we're going to do this too. Again, how are you going to make money? So would you like to share your recent story and we'll just kind of continue our normal?
Yeah. So again, we both, if anybody wants to DM us about all the social things that we're involved with, please feel free. I am going to say that we're not really, again, we're not censoring, we're not saying that that's a bad thing. You know, I've had refugees pull up to my dock. We go through this. So please don't go, gosh, they're anti. At the end of the day, we all got to keep our lights on. We all got to keep our lights on to live another day. And the other challenge that a lot of times people misunderstand is, especially in the United States, is the 501(c) sort of status or the nonprofit sort of status. So somehow if you're a nonprofit, it elevates you over the social causes of for-profits. Mm-hmm. And one need only look at the balance sheet and the P&L statement for a not-for-profit to realize that technically you're still got to keep your lights on. So people still get paid. And a long time ago, and my daughter was, and she still is, very altruistically this way. We will run around and we call it going about doing good on a regular basis. And it's on a regular basis. It's not a one and done, this nice little thing. But, when she was in high school, she was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go dig wells. And I'm like, fabulous. Go dig wells. There's probably a rig that'll dig that faster. But if you feel like you need hands-on with a shovel, I know my well right now is 400 feet deep. And at the end of the day, it should take you some time, teach you some really great lessons. And by all means, you're helping out. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean it's efficient. It doesn't mean that you have to do it yourself all the time to do these things. But yeah, the story that kind of came up is I always want, especially people that I'm mentoring, I always want them to be in their zone and their why. I want them to really want to do what they're doing. Otherwise, it gets very difficult, right? It does. It's a drudge. And there was some lack of performance starting to happen. And something told me in the middle of the night, ask this person what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And so the next day, get up and say, I always want people to be happy, and I'll help you find your happiness, even if it's not with this org or with another org. Mm-hmm. And I do. I'll go and I'll post, I'll connect and make sure that they're getting where they want to be, right? I mean, that's huge. But anyways, we're going through this whole thing and it's like, entrepreneuring is really not what I want to do. I think I'm going to switch. I think I want to be an influencer for a social cause on YouTube for a living.
Okay.
And I went, and it needs to be in a nonprofit. And I said, okay.
Well, first of all, I'm happy for them that they were able to clarify what they wanted. That is huge, and that is amazing.
Yeah.
Back to our point as far as our role with social justice and the clients we work with, that is the very first conversation I have with any nonprofit and relevant for-profits that lead with social justice initiatives. Is it doesn't matter what your social justice initiative is. Ultimately, you are a business. And even as a nonprofit, the more revenue that you generate, the more you can help and support your cause. And until they wrap their head around that, they stay in this poverty mindset. And it has been proven that nonprofits and those that are associated with nonprofits often function from a poverty and a lack mindset. When you have that, you always struggle. But when you flip the switch and realize, oh, we're running a business that allows us to generate more revenue, which allows us to help more people or more whatever the cause is, then you actually do more good than what you ever thought was possible.
Yeah. And when we say do more good, you can live another day to then refine, hone, live another day to help other people. I say lift and elevate all the time. Lift and elevate, but you can't lift and elevate when you're coming from the lack of abundance mindset, right? So there's the abundance mindset or the other side of the fence, and all reality, in all reality, I know, isn't it? I turn everything off and then I still get a bong. At the end of the day, when you're doing it is, again, we're not saying anything is wrong with that. You have to be able, people have to be able to feed their families. Let's put it that way, right? You have to be able.
You can't go to your mortgage company or the grocery store and say, I hired 3 people. Does that count for my groceries or my mortgage statement? They're going to say, we don't care. Give us the check. Give us the credit card. That's what pays the bill.
That's what pays the bill. Yet in that, when I've dealt with, now not every nonprofit, some of them are fabulous. And again, and I've dealt with a lot of them, when they come from the scarcity belief, it is, we need discounts from everybody else around us because somehow we are a not-for-profit. And yet some of those not-for-profits are making, the leadership is making huge amounts of money. And it is because, and I'm not saying that the huge amounts of money is because, but they need to be able to feed their families. So at the end of the day, they are not charities. And because they are not charities, they might have charitable contributions. They might be seen as charities. You're running a charity, but they still only donate about 15% to whatever that charity is, because 85% has to pay people to work. Working is where they have to, and the challenge that you have is sometimes you devalue your workers when you say, well, pick up your shovel and go shovel a 300-foot deep well, because somehow that's the social cause, right? But I'm going to go and keep my lights on. I'm going to go and do these things. And so there's kind of this sense from others that when you're when you're an influencer for a social cause on YouTube, great. Now have a plan how you keep your lights on so you do not become the social cause on YouTube, right? I mean, it's like
with your example there, this person wanting to become a social influencer, there's two parts to that. One is an influencer is an entrepreneur. They
yes,
still have to run a business. They still have to manage a business. They still have to plan out their business. They still have to market their business. That's first. Second, the current trend in marketing right now is for companies to shift away from influencer because companies live and die by the influencer. If an influencer screws up and your brand is associated with them, you're in trouble. So there's a shift
yeah.
to moving the influencer concept in-house and either hiring them as employees or going back to an older technique of creating characters for brands so the brand can have complete control over its own influencer.
That's an interesting concept as well. And we're talking about, obviously, the mindset of social cause to begin with. But in reality, also on any revenue generating side of the fence, I don't care if you call it income or revenue or whatever you want to call it on your P&L, anything that is happening there, the word influencer is almost synonymous now with thought leader. And you are correct, because there's so many of them. I know you're going, ew, but there are so many of them that it is hard to even see if they now have influence unless they are at the top. So that's like saying, okay, if you are an influencer, you've got to be in the top whatever 1%, like if you're the top 1% athlete or whatever, to really cause influence, right? So how do you become that influencer? So I'm going to get on YouTube and become an influencer for social cause. First of all, social cause is a very hard uphill battle to begin with. It's hard to get people to part with their money in social cause, let alone become an influencer in it. So if you are the top 1% and you want to start that, then it's going to be less of an uphill battle if you are what we would call a celebrity, that influence type thing. Okay. So I know you screeched, you went, I don't agree, but
No, I do agree. I'm screeching at influencers being correlated to thought leaders because in most cases they're not.
I know.
There was an influencer before influencer had the term, and I won't use her name just because. She was the stereotypical full blonde, skinny, can't think for herself, ditzy blonde. Did the
No.
not you,
About me like that.
not you. You're like one of the smartest people I know. I think you walk on water.
I'm just teasing. You know that. Keep going. I'm like,
This
oh.
influencer, on the other hand, was before the time of influencers. And I was at an event where she was brought in to speak, and the entire presentation, if you will, because people were trying to learn from her and how she grew her audience, she stood up there and she's like, well, I just like turn my camera on and like do stuff. And
That's
like, yeah, that's like what I do. And that's literally how she talked. Okay, now, yes, Valerie's, smacking her face at this point. And
no, you. So I'm giving you the Academy Award.
So she talks like this, and this is her definition of how she grew her brand. I'm putting brand in quotes here. And the reality is, all she was really doing was sex sells. She was a size half. She wasn't even a size 1. She had no brains that she could demonstrate, and no ability to do anything from an actual business perspective. And it's, she started off and that's how she built her brand. And then she landed one big gig because of the number of her followers.
Yep.
That brand alignment did not last long. She did, I think, 2 stints for this major corporation, and magically she disappeared. Because this major corporation needed her to be able to interact, in my opinion, like a human.
Yeah.
And have real conversations when she would go to events, and she couldn't do that.
Yeah.
A brand lives and dies by the influencer. Now, if we want to talk algorithms and we want to talk metrics, the celebrity influencers actually have less influence than micro influencers. However, there's no way to actually prove how many people are going to see your message. I was brought into this one client, and they were insistent that they hire this one influencer. Oh, she's so amazing. She has all these followers and she gets all this engagement. I'm like, okay. Saw her marketing sheet, and the numbers, of course, look impressive. If you know how to doctor social media numbers, it is super easy to make yourself massively impressive.
That's the next episode.
What, how to doctor numbers? No, our goal is to not doctor numbers, to be that.
No, innumeracy. Innumeracy. Yes, that's the next episode. But anyway, so she doctored the numbers.
So she doctors the numbers, and I go to each of her accounts, and her follower account did not match what was on her marketing sheet.
Yeah.
Her engagement rates on any of the posts that were visible did not match her marketing sheet. And so, because I am me and I do what I do, I went through each of her posts. Yeah. She pulled the stats from her best engagement post and used that on her marketing sheet. So I had to go back to the client and say, okay, you are paying her $5,000 to do 2 videos to promote your event or to promote whatever it is you're promoting. These are the numbers you think are getting interaction with the content she's creating for you. That is supposed to be genuine and sincere and get people to sign up right now. Okay, you just hired her not even 3 months ago. What were the results of that? Oh, we got 2 people that signed up.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the ROI on those 2 people? What's the profitability on those 2 people? Well, it was like 30% of the sign up. That 30% didn't come even close to a quarter of the $5,000 they paid that influencer.
Yep.
And that's what people don't realize is there's a time and a place for influencers.
Yeah.
But they're not the end all be all.
No. They're not the end all be all. And we could get into all these other topics, but we're going to cut this one short today and stay on that topic and leave you guys hanging for innumeracy for the next one. Thanks, Mel, for all of that information today. And everybody like our show, dang it.
And subscribe to our channel. We're working really hard here.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.